I returned from the US, the first 2.5 years, 92 to 94, I tried many different things, and these things didn't work. There was a lot of failure in those first 2.5 years. I then started India World. It was India's first internet portal in late 94, early 95. And that was about 6 months before commercial internet was launched in India. It was again in a very different space, not technology, which was what I used to do. It was sort of a media business, as it turned out later on. Our revenues came in from primarily from ads that we ran on the portal. We did 13 websites over the next 4 to 5 years of our own. 4 of them worked. Probably many of you all are too young to remember them. In samachar.com, khel.com, khoj.com, bawarchi.com were the big ones which were there. And 9 of them didn't work out, but we tried different things. That is the key, I think. You will never know something works unless you actually try it out. We were a profitable company fairly quickly because I had learned from my previous mistakes that the best form of venture capital actually is your own profits. So we had a services business where we would design websites for companies. At one point, we had about 200 plus corporate websites which we used to manage. That got the money in. And we had our own portals, which really created the audiences and the big value going forward. But because we were profitable, I could say no to venture capital, which was not on my terms, through those 4 to 5 years that we ran India World. And towards the end, we got an offer to buy at about $100 million. Our revenues at that time were just about $1 million. We were 20 people out of a small office in Nariman Point. Again, there's a long story to it, but eventually it turned out to be a good exit at that time. After that, I started a company, Netcore. Over the from 2000 to 2007, we tried many different areas in software, and none of them really worked out. And then I later got in professional management. I realized that my strength isn't really creating a business, but to grow it, I need better people than me to do that. And over the last sort of 7-8 years, Netcore has grown tremendously. We are India's largest digital marketing firm. We send out 6 billion emails and SMSs for corporates in India. We also do marketing automation platform, sort of India's first platform. And we're now about 430 people. Again, profits have been very important for us. And in some ways, I think that discipline of making profits and using profits to really grow the business, I think is something which has sort of served me very well. It's not that we don't look out for capital, it's just that if it doesn't come on the right terms, because I'm profitable, my business is profitable, I have the ability to say no. That's what helped us during, again, India World times, and even Netcore, of course, we have a very good foundation now to build on. I'll end with a few ideas which I think will help you in your own journey. I mean, every entrepreneurial journey is unique. So it's very hard, it's very easy to listen, but eventually you have to make your own decisions as you go forth. I think the first one is that you've got to think big. It's important because you're going to spend the same amount of time, whether you're going to do a small idea or a big idea. Be bold in what you think. And there's a very good quote by Daniel Burnham, Chicago architect, which I'll read out. Make no little plans. They have no magic to stir men's blood, and probably themselves will not be realized. Make big plans, aim high in hope and work. So I think that's very important that when you look at your ideas, and many times the idea that you begin with will probably evolve as you go forward, but you need a starting point. You need a business plan to sort of begin. It's obsolete the day you start your business because you come in touch with the real world outside. I think second one is that you need to imagine a world few years hence. So you are not creating really for today because you're going to start off now. It's going to take you time to build out. It's going to take you longer than you imagine. So you are trying to create and imagine a world 2 to 3 years hence. And I think passion is very important. That's the biggest differentiator. When you're going out and selling, okay, you're competing against some of the bigger companies, but your infectious enthusiasm, I think, is what can set you apart. And there is a wonderful quote by Dan Bricklin. Being a successful entrepreneur is tricky. You have to live with having control and not having control at the same time. It's like this. In big business, when you need to cross a river, you simply design a bridge, build it, and march right across. But in a small venture, an entrepreneurial venture, you must climb the rocks. You don't know where each step will take you, but you do know the general direction you are moving in. If you make a mistake, you get wet. If your calculations are wrong, you have to inch your way back to safety and find a different route. And as you jump from rock to slippery rock, you have to like that feeling. And that's really the life of an entrepreneur. When you walk into office every day, okay, you'll have 10 things to do. It'll be 6 o'clock in the evening. You'll realize you've done 10 different things. Many of those things still lie undone. You'll have more downs than ups. Okay, and you have to live with that every day, knowing, that inner belief, the self-belief, which Anurag and Neeraj have mentioned about also. See, I think it's very, very important. And also knowing when you are failing. I think many times it's very hard for us all to accept failure. Like I think was said, failure is not about you as an individual, it's about the idea. When I look back at my 25 years, there are about 15, 17 ideas that I've tried. I've talked about the 4 or 5 that have worked. There are lots of ideas which have not worked. But they're all part of the journey. And like Dan Bricklin says, it's a journey, that jumping from rock to slippery rock is what you've got to like. Thank you.